This show, it's a continuation of my interests in landscape as still life. It's an evolution or a departure from my previous work because this exhibition is beginning to consider the frame of the dioramas as an integral aesthetic device in the paintings. So in this show, you see a lot of confined spaces, these almost underground chambers that resemble tombs, dolmens. These new models are very aware of the shoebox, so to speak, that no longer are they trying to resemble the expansive outdoors, but it's very much about this idea of containment and what it means to preserve nature, to bury it underground, to put it in these boxes. Landscape is so vast. In nature, the horizon extends infinitely. And so by bringing the source of these paintings into a small spaces, thinking about them as these boxed spaces, there is an intimacy and a security that is created. They resemble forts, dollhouses, spaces that one can create a sense of comfort. So when speaking to macro time and this idea of putting nature or ourselves into a box, burying us into the ground as a method of creating immortality, I thought that there was just a link there between the box of the coffin, the box of the gallery, the box of the diorama, but also the box of the screen space. A lot of the paintings resemble bas-relief sculpture, wherein perhaps the space is only 3 or 4 feet deep. There's also this interplay between the drawings, which resemble a kind of rubbing. They almost have the effect of a bedsheet, a ghost costume, that you feel as if there's something on the other side of the plane. One of the things I was considering a lot when putting this show together was this idea of petrification, in which a petrified tree, all the organic material is slowly decomposed and sediment, minerals, stone takes its shape. So a petrified tree is actually not a tree at all, it's a stone tree. So these chambers, which seem to exist underground within the earth, there are many sort of narratives around the underworld as both a place of retreat and regeneration, but also as a place that's unknowable and cloaked in darkness. So many of the lighting conditions within these scenes, we feel as if we're coming into a kind of tomb or crypt, and there is no sunlight. There's a lot of symbolism to do with the chamber or coffin beneath the soil, that beneath the soil is the belly of immortality, that this is where our fossils come from, but it's also where we keep our history. It's a place that one is both condemned to and one seeks reprieve in. When I visited Perrotin's Tokyo gallery this summer, I was surprised to see that half of the gallery is windows. One of the walls becomes this sort of fourth wall wherein you can look into the gallery just like it's a vitrine. And I loved this meta doubling where the paintings are sort of these windows into these shallow spaces, but also they're functioning within a gallery that does the exact same thing. The last show had a lot of fantasy and magic. There was almost this sense of what could a landscape be in a sci-fi vacuum. This show is a bit more, it has a gravity to it, that it's less saturated, much more is about the sort of monochromatic, light, dark, grays, haze. But this is also a product of going underground, that when you have less light, when things have been pulled away, there's a paleness that starts to set in. But this idea of how do we preserve something, how do we lock it and seal it in stone for an eternity? So instead of being so obsessed with the future, I would say that this show is a bit of a return to a primordial past.